Welcome back to Soul to Self, the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Victoria, and I'm so grateful to have you here today. We're diving into a theme that's been showing up everywhere lately in client sessions, chats with peers, and honestly in my own reflections too, the energy of your business. Not just the structure, not just the strategy, but the frequency, the feel, the soul behind it all. It's so easy to get caught up in the doing, the launches, the planning, the dreaded content calendars. But what happens when we pause and really feel into being behind the scenes, the intention behind the actions? Last week's episode with Vanessa was such a beautiful conversation around transformation through business and wellness. And today I really want to expand on that thread because while we often focus on strategy, the energy that you lead with and show up with in your business matters just as much, if not more, really, because that's what people click into, that's what people resonate with. So when business feels off or misaligned between energy and action, what do we do? I mean, you know that feeling when everything looks good on paper, but something just doesn't quite feel right. You're ticking the boxes, you're posting the content, you're showing up, but inside there's like this feeling of disconnection, and maybe it's resentful, almost burnout. Maybe it's just a bit of meh. Well, that's misalignment, and sometimes it shows up as like resistance. So when you feel like you're dragging yourself through the motions and you're doing the things that you have to do, sometimes it shows up as confusion, like you can't hear your own voice through the noise. And sometimes it's just that loss of joy, like the spark's not there that used to be there. And it is so easy to go looking for answers on the outside of ourselves when that happens. So you start doing things like thinking, maybe I need a new funnel. Maybe this isn't my niche. Maybe I need to post more on social media. But what if the missing piece isn't actually just adding more and more to your to-do list? What if it's about a shift in energy? And what I recommend people do when they're feeling like this is sometimes just listen out, because sometimes your soul is whispering something like, pause, breathe, take a second, reconnect with me. But your mind is like the opposite end of that. It's screaming, push harder, you're falling behind, you need to do, go, be, have. And so the truth is, strategy without soul with it is always going to feel heavy. And I promise you one thing, your business does not need more hustle. It needs more of you. I want to talk about and explore something that I love and I'm fascinated by. And it's that dance between masculine and the feminine energy in business. So masculine energy brings with it structure, boundaries, strategy, action, and outcomes. It's all very proactive and all very do. Feminine energy brings with it intuition, flow, creativity, connection, and nurturing. It's all very be. And neither is better. We need both. The magic is balancing those two energies. It's not about being in your extreme masculine and constantly hustling and grinding. And it's not about being in your extreme feminine, sitting on a mat, meditating and saying, well, the universe is just going to pop it in my lap. And if I just go with the flow, it'll all be okay. See, that neither of them are truths and neither of them are honest. You need that magic balance. And what I see so often, especially in spiritual entrepreneurs and people who want to help other people, is this pattern. They lean deeply into their feminine energy. And then it's time to launch, price, plan, or show up consistently. And suddenly they have this avoidance, this overwhelm, and almost this paralysis. I've actually had clients say, I'm amazing at holding space for others, but I hate putting myself out there. I love the work, but I avoid the back end, the planning, the structure. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but here is like a truth bomb. Your feminine flow needs a masculine container to feel safe, and your masculine structure needs to be held with compassion. So, this is where we create what I like to call drive held in compassion and strategy with a softness and aligned action over like that constant hustle. So there are times in my business where I have been floating in full feminine energy, journaling, vision boards, pulling cards, meditating, you name it, but not following through, not taking action. And I've had other times where I have swung far too far into that masculine, pushing, planning, overdoing, and hustling. And what happens there is I just burn out. You'll burn out if you do that. So now I consciously weave both energies. And how I do that is I let my intuition lead, but I support her with structure. And I let my vision expand, but I anchor it with that masculine energy of action. And this isn't about perfection. It's about noticing where you're leaning and lovingly coming back to balance. And something that I do is I imagine this almost like a bit of a dance because I do like music. So I think sometimes we have that day where we are more in the mood for a love song or something a bit gentler, and then that day where we might be hard rock. And I always think it's like making that little balance to bring the two together and create some kind of softening. So let's get real for a second. What we need to be aware of with business strategy is boundaries and self-care. How often do we abandon ourselves for the sake of our business? Like, how often do we push through when we're tired? That's not balance. How often do we say yes when we want to say no? Or stay on even when our body is absolutely begging for rest? There are so many layers here. There's the expectations we place on ourselves, the ones we think everybody else has placed on us. And of course, there may be actual client needs and business needs here. But here's the thing, you genuinely can't hold space for others if you're constantly depleting yourself. I've had to set boundaries that weren't always easy and made me feel uncomfortable sometimes, but they were necessary. Even recently, I've had to say no to a beautiful opportunity because it just wasn't aligned with my energy or my schedule. And it felt really, really hard. In fact, it was awful. But on the flip side of that, when I stopped, it was also quite empowering because boundaries aren't barriers, they're bridges to sustainability. So whatever they look like for you, whether that's scheduling breaks between clients, creating like an office hours plan, or saying no to that should thing, boundaries are, in my opinion, the ultimate act of deep self-love. And I know this is like quite an emotional aspect of our work because holding space for other people is beautiful, but it's also very energetic. And that energy is something that you need to protect. So if no one's told you today, you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to take up space in your own business, in your own life, and especially in your own calendar. So a little kind of challenge would be block out a little window for yourself, spend some time in your own energy and nourish yourself. Be present with yourself and just allow yourself time to rest or time for some self-care and fun. So it's that point in the show again. Let's take a little pause together, and I'm going to pull a card for us all today. Something hopefully will come through. It never fails to amaze me how beautifully aligned these are. So I've just pulled a card for you, and it's called Whispers. And it says, Heart whispers bring you joy. Now, what I'm feeling from this is when you create that boundary or you create that space for yourself, listen to your heart. Maybe even put your hands on your heart and just say, what does my soul need right now? And actually, it might be that you're in your divine feminine and you need to step a little bit more into your masculine energy and take action. It might be that you're in your masculine and you need to just swing it back and have a little energy shift. So just think about where your business, where your life, where you need this energy right now. Where are you pushing? Where are you hiding? What needs to be felt and not fixed? So with that said, I wanted to reflect a little bit how spirituality ties into all of this, because if you're here and you're listening to me, it's likely that you're open to the spiritual aspects. And I think what it is for me personally is that success has never just been about the metrics or the money for me. It's always been about alignment. It's been about peace and fulfillment and freedom. So when I first started my business, ultimately, as you've heard me say before, it was because I wanted to be a very present mum. And obviously, we're teenagers. That isn't the same motivator now. So I don't believe that there is a one size fits all strategy. I believe that your strategy has to be soul aligned for the success that you're seeking, for the life that you want to create, but also it does need to be actionable. But what this means is tuning in before you take action. So let the universe, let spirit guide you on your timings sometimes. Trust signs, nudges, and synchronicities. Manifestation is amazing. What are you manifesting? Manifest the hell out of what you want to see in your life and business. Listen to your inner compass. This podcast, the ethos of it is like that inner compass that we all have and we just don't always access. I've made decisions within my business and my life that make no logical sense, but they just felt so right. And so I went with them. And I've launched things on a whisper from spirit, and they've landed perfectly. But I've also ignored my gut and done the research and the hustle inside and launched things that have looked good on paper and strategically, and they've fallen flat because there was no energy behind it. And I've paid the price for trying to create things on scale or without that heart-led energy. And they've always resulted in misaligned clients that have been a nightmare and burnout. So I've learned, and I hope you learn, that success is sustainable when it feels good and grows you as well as your business. So before we wrap up today, I just want to take a moment of reflection and maybe do it now or find a quiet moment later. Let's do a little self-inquiry just to check in with the soul of your business. How do you do that? What does that look like? Well, for me, I regularly come back, and each quarter I ask myself, is my business a reflection of who I am? So is your business a reflection of who you are? If I come into your world and I work with you, am I at the receiving end of the same person as if I went out for a coffee and a chat with you? Are your offers aligned with what you're excited to deliver? Do you get excited about the work you do? Do you get excited when a customer comes into your space or you go onto a call, whatever that looks like for you? This one's important, so don't skip over it. Are you honoring your energy? your needs, and your rhythm. So, what I mean by this is, I spent a long time working with a wonderful coach, and she had a very set way of doing things. She used to recommend doing a 3-day client facing week, a 1-day content creating week, and then any leftovers for the 5th day. But if you didn't have any, you could have it as a bonus day off. And for her, it really worked. And for lots of people, it really worked. But it didn't work for me because at that time, my autoimmune condition was at its peak. And so I needed like a day off, more a week. I needed to break my week into smaller chunks. Like if I saw clients all day, the next day I needed like at least half a day's rest for my body and my energy to recover. So make sure that your energy and your needs and the rhythm that fits your soul, your life, and your practicalities are working. Where are you pushing when you need to soften? Okay, so are you really metrics driven at the moment? Are you trying to gain, I don't know, let's say 1,000 extra followers on Instagram or wherever you show up online? Do you need to soften and think actually one good connection at a time is more valuable to me than 10s and 20 connections that aren't really going to go anywhere? They aren't going to give me anything, and they aren't nurturing my energy, and I'm not able to make an impact and nurture that person's energy. And finally, where are you hiding when it's time to take the lead? So often, we don't realize the power of what we share or what we do. So we play small and we undervalue ourselves. I don't just mean that in a financial sense with pricing or anything like that. Giving ourselves credit for our successes or what we're really good at and shining ourselves out into the world, taking up our space. Taking up space doesn't have to be like, I'm in a room, I'm here, and I'm big and loud and noisy. It's just taking your portion with confidence and clarity and that self-love and that self-trust and that self-worth that you're there because of what you do and who you are, and you're amazing. I know any of you listening to this are amazing. And I also know that if you do these journal activities and then you put them into action, so when we journal, we then take action. I know if you do this, when you listen to your soul, your business will listen too, and everything will start to shape. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And thank you so much for all the support that the podcast has been receiving and the amazing feedback. I am so humbled to each and every one of you who's taken time to listen, reach out, and connect. It's amazing. And I know this conversation's gone quite deep, but I really hope that it's stirred something true within you. And I just want you to remember that strategy needs energy and success needs soul. So if you have to visualize that like the yin and yang, please do, or balance and dance with the male and feminine. So whatever you do, whether you journal, voice note, meditate, take a walk, and let all of this land in, I'd love to hear if and what resonated with you. Literally, I mean it. Slide into my inbox and let me know how you're getting on. And if you need any support around it, then I have something beautiful coming for you. I'm hosting a live masterclass in April, diving even deeper into how to shift your energy and realign your business from the inside out. You'll leave the masterclass with tools, insights, and a fresh perspective to carry forward. As always, just a slight request. If this episode has been useful to you, please do share it with a friend. All of the shares are so epic and so useful. Until next time, please keep trusting your inner compass because your soul knows the way, even if your mind isn't aware yet. Take care. Thank you for listening.